When I posted on the Norwich Remembers Facebook site asking for memories of smells, little did I think that the Facebook community would respond in the way that it did. Smell is the most evocative of the senses, so strap yourselves in and see if, with a little imagination, we can recreate those smells. Beginning with a walk round the city centre, much of what I say will be quotes from responses. Firstly, a smell of coffee from Lambert's. This branch was opposite Jarrold's on Guildhall Hill, and the other was on the corner of White Lion Street. Lambert's sold coffee and tobacco. More recently, a different smell would waft from this shop when Lush had a branch there. A brief mention at this point to Dakin's coffee shop on Davy Place, but I couldn't find any reference to that. More coffee smells came from Lions on the Walk, and I don't much fancy the look of that ladder. Further along, in fact into the Haymarket now, this is a branch of Back's Wine Merchants who produced a gorgeous woody, porty smell. In the current location of Next was Lambert's Coffee and Tea Warehouse, and a slightly different smell would have come from Escaped Cattle in 1937. On the marketplace itself we still have the smell of flowers and chips and fish, and after all that coffee we would have needed to spend a penny, which provided a less pleasant smell. For anyone still hungry, back of the inns would find Don Miller's Hot Bread Kitchen and Crask's Butchers. This is the back entrance to Woolworths Canteen, where smells of roast chicken, chips and vinegar are all recalled. This is the first Zach's, dating from 1976, where the View Cinema is now located. Popping up to Mountergate now, and the Fish Market, which is now the site of the Rose Lane car park and is marked by a plaque which states that the Fish Market had previously been in St Peter Street. Remember Lambert's from part 1 of this video? Well, their coffee and tobacco shops were widely found across the city, and here are two more. This one on Prince of Wales Road and this one at Charing Cross, where their current location looks like this. The fair, which was normally held on the cattle market, had its own aroma, and the smell of candy floss was specifically recalled in the Facebook comments. So what about the factories which made all this food and drink? This is Aylsham Road and the site of the former Sunshine Bread Factory, which gave the area a smell of freshly made bread. This is inside their factory, and this is their local delivery arrangement. Norwich had plenty of breweries, which gave the city a smell of hops and malt. This is Bullard's, which was on Westwick Street. The most distinctive smell for many was that of chocolate from Cayley's or Mackintosh's. Caramac is particularly remembered, but there was also a smell of rancid butter in the air when the factory was bombed. There was a recollection of the chocolate smell merging with that of the nearby Potter's Pickle Factory on Union Street, but unfortunately I was unable to find any precise details of its location. And then there was Coleman's. Coleman's was based in the city from 1854 until 2020, and particular recollections from their factory at Carrow centres around the smell of mint. Not to be confused with Coleman's, Coleman's with an E produced Wincarnis and Vitacup in a factory on Westwick Street that produced a chocolatey smell in the area. Their site is now occupied by the former Toys R Us store. This is about a typical length of a normal Lost Norwich video, but we're only halfway through this one, so I hope my droning on isn't boring you as we look at some smells associated with shops. Hovell's was based in Bridewell Alley for 150 years, selling brushes, baskets and wicker type furniture with all its associated smells. Head in the Clouds in Pottergate describes itself as a happy boutique of rainbow-infused beauties and magical smells. This was Jarrold's book department, which smelt of books, as did Goose's bookshop in its basement. Leech's in St Stephen's smelt of hardware, probably like Thorne's does today, and people also recall the smell of the wooden floor at Little Woolies. Helston residents may be surprised to see no housing but a Speedway stadium, the Firs, which operated from 1930 till 1964. On race nights it had a distinctive smell of methanol and oil burning. The site looks like this today. I went to the nearby Firside Primary School and remember the headmaster, Roy Ferguson, telling assembly the school had been named after the racetrack. Better that, I suppose, than the Firs pub, which is now a Tesco Express. Another long-lost sporting location is St Augustine's swimming pool, with its strong smell of chlorine. On to Carrow Road now, and probably my favourite quote from all the comments received. Carrow Road had a stench of human existence, musky body odour, malodorous old clothing and greasy caps, counter-shag tobacco smoke, brilliantine pomade or brill cream and flatulence, often with a whiff from Whittingham sewage works. The smell of the old bus station in the late 1970s brings back memories, along with the damp, musty smell on the old style buses with their open platforms at the back. The smell of steam trains is recalled, especially when standing at the soot-covered railings on Carrow Road. And this is the same view that we see today, with a slight change to the road layout, but with railings still in place. Maybe they're not so covered with soot these days. A closer inspection reveals it's just rust. As if we hadn't had enough unpleasant smells so far, this section looks at them specifically. But let's begin with a nice view of the newly built Sweetbriar Road at its junction with Helston Hall Road, because it wouldn't be long before May and Bakers appeared on the scene. Here are a few quotes from people who remember that smell. Mark & Sons was the hardest one for me to find out about. I'd not heard of it, but it transpires they had branches all around the country, including Hayham or Ham Street, however you want to pronounce it. This was an animal skin treatment factory, and the site is now occupied by Panks, whose address is the old tannery. They obtained animal skins from slaughterhouses, cleaned them up and sold them on. They also sold maggots to fishermen, and I understand that the maggots were bought from inside that arch, although my informant accepts that it may have been an earlier building. It looks like it probably was, with the possible location of the arch being indicated by the arrow. The gasometer in Gas Hill was built in 1880 and was something of a local landmark. It had been dismantled by 2019, and this is all that remains. Jarrell's books may have had a nice smell, as we saw earlier, but their printing works had a smell described as one which made your skin crawl. Next, on the subject of unpleasant smells, perhaps surprisingly, we have the Samson and Hercules, or rather the smell of pee and puke on Wagon and Horses Lane after customers were kicked out. And the final unpleasant smell, black mould in people's homes. Concluding with some more pleasant recollections, the smell on Mondays of washing being boiled in a copper, walking behind men who were smoking pipes, and the smell of cut grass before all the verges had been churned up. And finally, a smell like pear drops from a car spray business in Pottergate, which the word petroleum and the roof lines suggest to me was located here.